Welcome back to another episode of Fridays Live,
the show where we bring in two Canadian artists each week for a Q&A and live performance.
I'm Alexa Huffman. I'm here with Robb Johannes, and he's the lead vocalist from the band Paint. And Paint is an indie rock band from Toronto that will be playing at Canadian Music Week on May 8th, and they are currently working on a black and white film called 1111, which was funded through Indiegogo and will be a narrative accompaniment to their new EP. So Thank you for coming.
You did your homework there. Very nice.
So you've described Paint in previous interviews as a live band. Mm-hmm. So how does that translate into your music and your lyrics?
Well, we almost never record a song unless we played it live many, many times in many cities. Because you may think that bridge is really awesome, except when you play it live, everyone goes out for a smoke. It's about seeing how that experience connects you to the audience. And I think for us as a live band, it's not just a matter of the performance, it's about the community around the band. I always bring this line up about the Smiths because when they reflected on why they became so popular so quickly with such a devoted fan base, but it was small, but it was very, very committed. It was because they felt that popular music at their time, which I still think applies today, would really talk down to its audience, would pretty much not give you any credit for being intelligent, would kind of say, hey, the party's going on, instead of challenging the audience or giving them credit for their intellect and saying, well, let's go on this journey together because we know you can go there with us because you are intelligent, bright, amazing people as well. So the line between the performer and the audience kind of disappears. And I think that I always held that up as the ideal, and that's kind of what I experienced growing up around punk rock and everything. There was no, it wasn't staying up on a pedestal or anything. It was, we were all part of this experience together, and nobody was more or less important than anyone in that. So it was a very egalitarian, see, this is where the politics stuff is coming in again, but it's all interconnected for me for this band. So that's where I think our bread and butter is. Records are great. I love being in the studio. I love making records. I love what's created in there. But again, that's just a moment in time. That's a little stitch of that song at that particular juncture, and then it develops and grows as you play live and as you tour and as you experience how it works in a live setting. And we're getting a lot more ambitious with the live shows now because the songwriting is getting better and stronger and bigger, and our ideas on how to make the songs capture that feeling that you're in a stadium except you're just in a small club. That's kind of what we try to achieve. And there's a lot more of a production involved in us playing live in terms of how we orchestrate everything, but it's great. I love it. It's a challenge every show. Like, okay, the chorus of this song, we didn't quite, it wasn't there. What can we do next time? Like, okay, well, let's look back at technically how we're doing this. How is it being performed? Am I jumping high enough? It's all about creating that experience so that when someone comes to see you in a club and it's the response is they're not trying to go, oh, have I heard this band before? They see you and go, I've seen this before as well. And again, sort of playing on all the senses. And I think that's something that's really not being done very much. There's a certain shtick about being cool and we're just wearing jeans and a t-shirt and just gonna go on stage and stand there. And I think there's something to be said about performance art, really, in that sense. It's a very theatrical thing, and it connects all the art forms together, I like to think.
Going back to your origins, the band originally started in Vancouver, but has gone through changes with members. Yeah. So how have you gone from there and your first album, Can You Hear Me, to the second album, Where We Are Today? What has changed musically and then with your band?
Well, the thing with Vancouver is it's very small and you can reach a glass ceiling really quickly if you have the right ingredients. And when it started, it was Matt LaForest and Paula McGlynn and I. So it was a trio with a rotating cast of friends filling in on bass, which ironically just seems to be what we've also been for the last 2 years now. But that seems to work for us for some reason. I was the only one that could leave Vancouver at the time. And it was a real drag because I think that what we had on that unit, and Can You Hear Me is still sort of my favorite album that we've put out. There was just a certain energy that was so instinctive for us. We were such a tight unit, and we were good friends, and we were just part of this community, and it took off really fast for us. But in Vancouver, you can either tour all the time or you can move, because everything is so spread out. And I did that grind across the prairies, so much that I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't drive for 10 hours to each city, knowing that if you're in Toronto, you can hit 15 cities in that same radius and sleep in your own bed and play 200 shows a year instead of 20. And the band could just move along so much more. But I think I took for granted how important the personnel of the band is. I was really reluctant to leave. I didn't want to leave Matt and Paula and leave that unit, but at the same time, life and just where this band could go seemed like it needed to make this transition. So it was just kind of a 4-year process of trying to find that energy again and that spark that was inspiring, that right mix of personalities that could just do this. And we had moments of it. The old drummer, Andre Day, who played on Where We Are Today, he was absolutely one of the most wonderful people I've ever played in a band with. But, the financial realities of being in a band are really difficult. So he had to move back to Saskatchewan, and then we sort of had to build things up again. But I think finally we've captured that again with Jordan Shepherdson, who's the guitarist, and Devin Janetta is the drummer, and again, the rotating cast of friends filling in on bass until we find someone who really can stick around. But I think we are now not only as good but better than we were then, and it feels like it's really starting. I kind of thought that 2013, my years are blowing together now. I kind of thought 2013 was going to be the last year. It's the Bowie thing, you get 5 years and that's it. But we had such a great end to that year, with the DVD coming out and all these new songs and just really connecting with the audiences and us as a unit being so tight and being such good friends and living through changes in our own lives, but still staying together as a band. And it felt like it was only the beginning. So I'm kind of seeing it as there was Can You Hear Me? There was a giant void. And now we're starting again. So it only really feels like we're in year 2, as opposed to, I think we're into year 6 now. But yeah, it's been a journey. But I don't regret any of it. And I love where we are now. I think I think we're in the best place we're ever going to be, and you're just going to keep hearing better and better music out of us. Every song we write is just better than the one before it, and we're getting really excited. So we just want to get out and perform and share that with everyone.
All right, so that leads to my last question. Basically, what's next? What's in the future?
Well, we're debating if we want to do an LP or an EP. We do have the 1111 film. We're working on that. We have the 4 songs lined up that are going to go on that. But like I said, we've got other songs that we're really pumped about. And we're still old school. We're still big fans of listening to a whole album, and going to the record store and buying it, on vinyl, and having that whole experience of connecting with the sales clerk and talking about other bands and learning about other bands from people. So I think getting the EP done first, which may end up just becoming a teaser for a full-length album. But for now, it's just we're playing Canadian Music Week. The summertime is a bit of a lull in terms of being able to go out and play and tour because everyone's going to cottages. And so we tend to take the summer to kind of regroup a bit, write new songs, look at finer tuning in terms of the stage presentation and the live show, and then hit the ground running again in September. So that's where it's at. I'm hoping that by the fall we can have those songs recorded and out there, but funding is always the challenging part. The Indiegogo thing was great, but it didn't allow us enough to actually fund the EP. So we may have to do another campaign or something, because we feel like we're doing our audience a disservice by not putting these songs out onto record, because they seem to really dig them, and so do we.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. This song, actually, interestingly enough, it's going to be on the 1111 film soundtrack EP. And my founding bandmate, Paula McGlynn from Vancouver, came out to visit Toronto for a couple of weeks after 4 years apart. And we sat down one afternoon while she was visiting, and we wrote this song in a couple hours, just like old times. So it would, certain partnerships are just going to live with you forever. But it's called Bonfire of Vanities. Come here to pour my goods to strangers who pour my drinks. It's safer. The job is to pretend. The romance we both knew would not last, but wanted to believe in. For me, there's still dream. It wasn't what she wanted. Now it's plain to see. She has got a daughter that don't belong to me. People, they all change, but the photos stay the same. Don't burn them, they'll always be true. Throw our fantasies in a bonfire of vanities. The truth hurts less than losing you. I wasn't what she wanted, now it's plain to see. She has got a daughter that don't belong to me. The